Hi, welcome to A Watchman's Journal. I'm Diana Larkin. I am very happy to bring back to you today the triple threat. We are going to be unpacking another amazing dream that our dreamer Ash has had. Actually, two, a very short one and then a longer one that is action-packed, could be a thriller. And we are calling this episode Hunting the Bad Guy. Welcome, John of Dream Life Decoded. Thank you for coming back on with us today.
Always a pleasure to be here, Diana. How you doing, Ash?
I'm all good, brother. All
And
good.
Ash, our prophetic dreamer from England for a short while longer. And then also part of a Watchman's Journal team, a very valuable member. He does dream interpretation for us, but I will just mention on air even that please be patient because we have rather dumped a lot of dreams on him. And he had a backlog from when he was over here in the States traveling the last time. So just hasn't caught up. So please be patient, but it'll be well worth it when you get it. So Ash, thank you so much for being here and for all you do.
Oh, you're more than welcome, as I said. And I agree, once I get round to it, it's not that I'm ignoring it. It's once I get there. The way that I do this now is I add an audio recording to the transcription. So you've got written and you've got audio there. So you can keep that and you can have that as long as you want. I feel it brings a little bit more value. So you get your own version of Dream Life Decoded when they do their live dream segments every Tuesday. You get that in your email address. So I want to serve the people the best way I can. So I will get to you guys. Just be patient, and it is in my heart to serve you as best as I can. So thank you.
And you do. That is a brilliant way you found to do it because that's such a great combination, audio and visual. Really, it brings it home, I think, more. Well, let's go ahead and dive in. How about this first short dream that you're going to share with us?
Yes,
and John and I will try not to drag it out so long, but we can't get to the longer action-packed dream.
I'm going to say I don't blame you two. I more put the blame on Holy Spirit because, again, if he's the interpreter of dreams, then there's a reason why he's talking. So, but we went over this dream briefly. I was encouraged to share this last week on Live Dreams with Dream Life Decoded and the team. Hi, matey, and everybody that was there. It was a very impactful moment. There was more revelation that was given. I'll let John go into that. But here's the dream. I had it on the 19th of June this year. I had it at 5:32 in the evening over here in the UK. Here's the dream. I'm in a dream, sleeping, and in the dream, I was given an interpretation for a dream I previously had. End dream.
Well, that's a dream within a dream within a dream. Nice.
Boom.
I know that when you have a dream within a dream, it like gives it extra emphasis. It's like, this is the real deal. This is going to be. What were you going to say, John?
I was going to say, and we know from Christopher Nolan's work in the movie Inception, that the deeper you go, the faster time moves, or actually the slower time moves as compared with reality. So, but that's actually just an urban myth in the movie. But the dream within a dream within a dream within a dream is the movie Inception. But a dream within a dream, I get a lot of questions on this. This is always something people ask a lot. They're like, what does it mean? And excuse me, there's a lot of generic answers, one of which is, well, God is waking you up to something. Okay, so like pay attention to what you wake up to. Like if you wake up and you're in the middle of a war, God could be waking you up to the idea that you actually are in the middle of a war. But this one is, I love this dream because it's a process dream, I believe. God is showing you process and strategy and a form of communication for you in particular. For those of you that don't know, I yawn a lot. I'm not tired. I'm not exhausted. It's just
I just bore him.
it's just a breath thing. It's embarrassing when people are like, "Can you pray?" And then I go to pray, and like 5 seconds into my own prayer, I'm yawning. People are like, "Are you boring yourself?" And I'm like, "No, it's just it's a thing." So, but yeah, I love this because when we unpack this in Live Dreams, God took me to a place related to dreams that I had never looked at before and never been. And I thought it was absolutely fascinating. First of all, I feel like God is waking you up to the idea that he's going to speak to you in dreams and give you actionable intelligence about things that are happening in the real world. If you've been around Dream Life Decoded for any length of time, that's kind of like, duh. Of course, we know God speaks to you in dreams. We know that he gives you actionable intelligence. But the fact that you're in a dream and you know in the dream you're sleeping. First of all, how did you know in the dream you were sleeping? Did you wake up and you were still in the dream?
I saw myself sleeping. I
Okay.
saw myself in a bed sleeping. Yeah. So I was like outside and then went in, if that makes sense.
Okay. But then suddenly you're in the head of the guy laying on the bed and you know what he's dreaming.
Correct.
So that's really interesting because you're an observer, like a third party observer to your own body. And then you're like instantly inside your own head, seeing the dream that you're currently having while you're observing yourself. So that's fascinating. There's 3 yous and there's 3 dreams. And I think it's interesting because a lot of times when God wants to say something important, I think of how the angel of the Lord appeared as 3 different beings to Abraham. And they said, we're going to go down to see if the cry raised against Sodom is true. And then thus begins multiple events in Abraham's life, including his negotiation, which could have actually been the relief of Sodom. If he would have moved there, it would have changed the destiny of that city. I've done a deep study on that because somebody told me about the scripture verse that said that Jesus said, I think he was in Capernaum, and he said, if the miracles that were performed in you had been performed in Sodom, it would exist to this day. And so I'm like, well, if Jesus said that, then there's like legitimately hope for Sodom. Where is it? I want to find that in scripture. And then we found it. And it's mind blowing, you know. But so I think it's interesting that precedence because God is delivering a stark warning and information. But that's also the same time, I believe, that he promises Sarah a child.
Yeah.
And so it's okay, so I got to tell the Sodom story. It's interesting because it was the promise of the child that made it, I believe, made Jesus say this. If you look at what happened in Capernaum, there's a lot of miracles, but there's one in particular where he said, surely I have not seen such faith in all of Israel. And it's the Roman centurion. When the Roman centurion comes up and says, can you heal my servant? And he says, yes, I'll go to your house. And he says, no, I'm a man under authority. I say to this one, go, and he goes, and that one stay, and he stays. Only say the word and he will be healed. And Jesus was like, I have not seen such faith in all of Israel. Go, and I believe he said, go, and it will be done for you as you have said. So it's actually 2 miracles in one. The first miracle is the healing. The second miracle is the prophecy of the healing. It's future predictive. It will be done. So future predictive miracles, particularly ones that you can set a clock to, are like those that were performed in Capernaum. So when they show up and they said, we're here to see if the cry raised against Sodom is true, they don't say anything about destroying the city. But Abraham immediately goes, whoa, you're not going to just, you're the God of all the universe. You're not going to, surely the God of all the universe isn't going to destroy the righteous with the wicked. What if there's 50 righteous? Okay, I won't destroy it. And the next thing he says is everything. He says, What if there's 5 less than 50? Surely you won't destroy the city for a lack of 5 people. Go read it. This is what he says. So now God is not a liar. The Bible says that God is not man that he should lie. So I believe that God not only cannot lie, he cannot infer a lie. So he cannot give the mathematical equivalent of a lie. God does not answer his question. The question was, surely you won't destroy the city for a lack of 5 people. God doesn't answer that. He answers the mathematical equivalent. He says, I won't destroy the city if there's 45 righteous. That was not the question. The question was, surely you won't destroy the city for a lack of 5 people. So then they go down 40, 30, 20, 10, and then he stops at 10. Well, how many people were in Sodom that were righteous? Do you know? So the angels led out Lot, his wife, and his 2 daughters. So there were 4.
Mm-hmm.
Now he said, I would not destroy the city for a lack of 5 people. But then he said he wouldn't destroy the city if there were 10. So there's already 4. He won't destroy it if there's a lack of 5, which would be 9. So there only needed to be 1 more righteous person that moved to Sodom. If Abraham would have moved to Sodom, it wouldn't have been destroyed. But if he would have taken his wife Sarah, the miracle performed in Capernaum, which was announced at this very visit with the angel of the Lord in triplicate, you will give birth to a son by this time next year. If they would have gone to that city and said, hey, my wife and I, 100 years old as we are going to give birth to a son, it would have been a future predictive miracle that nobody would have believed. But when it would have happened, it would have been, I contest, greater than the miracle of the centurion. It's a future predictive miracle. It's a prophecy of a miracle. So they could tell people, set your clocks by a year from today, you're going to see us with a child. And they're going to be like, there's no way, there's no way. And then it happens. And I believe that this would have been the salvation of the city of Sodom. Why? Because Jesus said there was hope for Sodom.
Wow.
And so the punchline of this story, the actionable intelligence of the story, is God can give a word to 1 man who can move to a city, who can change the destiny of the entire city.
Wow. That's heavy. Wow. Makes obedience very attractive.
It does.
Actually, do you remember anything about the dream that was being interpreted in the dream within a dream?
No.
Okay,
No, I
so
don't.
that wasn't the point then, to actually give you that. Although I wouldn't look past getting dream interpretations in your dreams.
Definitely. I agree with what John said last week. Like, you need to be prepared for that possibility to happen, as well as you waking up, whether it's you in the dream or whether it's you waking up, getting that interpretation for something else. Okay, so I'm just being reminded now. No, not yesterday, the day before yesterday, I was at work and I was going to go into my folder and I was going to look at one particular dream. And as I was busy, the Lord said, I actually want you to focus on this dream for a second. And I haven't thought about this at all. And I went into it, and immediately when I read it, I just got the interpretation. It's addressing something that I'm going through right now. And I was like, do you know what my first response was? It was, but that's not the dream I was focused on. That was my response. Not, oh wow, this is amazing, thank you. Look, no, it was, but that's not the dream I was focusing on. But it was a dream that was addressed and given the interpretation of, that was outside of what I was looking for. So very much like this dream, I'm in a dream, and in the dream I'm sleeping, having a dream about an interpretation of a previous dream I had. That happened in equivalent in a way in real life. I'm at work and I'm thinking about a dream, and the Lord says, no, I need you to look at another dream. And he gave me the instant interpretation of it. And but my response is like, but Lord, I wasn't focused on that. Come on, Ash, wake up, you fool.
Change the subject, God.
Yeah, back on focus, right? Let's get back on
Oh
focus.
my gosh, we're so funny. We
I
are so
know.
funny. And he is so patient.
Yeah. I have no doubt he was laughing at me. No doubt at all. But
So you were at work and he
mm,
gave you the interpretation for a dream you weren't working on.
yes.
And when did you
Exactly.
have this dream? Shortly after that or before that?
Oh man, excuse me, guys. Let me just quickly get rid of that because I'm being hounded and I don't want to be disturbed. Turn that off. Let me have a look.
So the dream within a dream was June 19th of this year.
Yeah, that's this one. And the dream that I was led to interpret. Let's get into the dream folder. Sorry, guys, please bear with me. It's a lot of dreams.
That I believe.
Here we are. So it was on the 25th of last month.
Okay.
Day 25 is when you were at work.
Correct.
And 6/19.
No. May 25 is when I had the dream. It was not yesterday, the day before yesterday. So that would have been the 7th was when I was at work.
Oh, okay. So the dream that got interpreted you had before you had the dream about interpreting the dream in a dream. Makes sense.
So the dream that I had about interpreting a dream was before. So that was on the 19th of the 6th.
Mm-hmm.
So June the 19th of June. And then the dream that I got the interpretation for on the 7th of this month, that was on the what did I say?
25th.
Yeah.
25th, yeah.
Well, it's interesting because I saw this as God speaking to you about how he wants to speak to you. So it's a process. It's God is laying down a precedence for communication. And often God will do this and we miss it because it seems like a nothing, but well, there was no information transferred. God is setting up a pipeline, a conduit. He's making you aware of, we've just installed a red phone in your house. When this red phone rings, pick it up on the first ring. And so I have had some profound dreams we've done for high-level political people that I was stumped on, that I would pray and then I would go take a nap, do what we call an RFI. God, what does this mean? Go to sleep, wake up with something in my mind, search that out, and that is the very answer to the other dream. And that's why, again, I feel like dream interpretation is such like the gold standard of revelation. Because unlike other things where it's like you just get the answer, like in prophecy or word of knowledge, which we don't despise any of those, we love all of those. But the whole story of even how you have the dream, what happens in the dream, the date you have the dream, the time you have the dream, and then how you unpack the dream and God provides the interpretation is really all part of the miraculous part of the whole revelatory species of dream interpretation.
Wow.
And so what God is telling you here, and this is what I heard, which I had never put together before, is Psalm 126 says, when the Lord brought back the captives from Zion, we were like men who dreamed, meaning we were rubbing our eyes like, can this be real? Like, I believe this is talking about the time of Cyrus. Cyrus conquers Babylon. Babylon, of course, they had taken, this was during the time of Nehemiah. They had come and they had conquered Jerusalem. They had carried off slaves and killed a bunch of people and taken the best of the best. And, think of Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They're all taken. They're made into eunuchs. They're trained to be in the service of the king. And so at some point, which is under the reign of Belshazzar, which is the son of Nebuchadnezzar, think of Daniel 5 with the writing on the wall. Daniel interprets it and says, this very night your life will be required of you, and your kingdom will be divided between the Medes and the Persians. Well, the Persian facet was Darius the Mede, and it was Cyrus the Persian. And some theologians actually think that they're the same person. I don't know that there's a strong argument for that. I think the one that seemed to make the most sense is that Darius the Mede is actually the uncle of Cyrus the Persian. But Cyrus the Persian is all through biblical prophecy up to 100 and some odd years before this whole event happens.
Yep.
And so when it happens, it's like, we've heard of this guy.
Yeah.
And so what happens is Cyrus had a propensity for appeasing conquered people. And one of the ways that he did this is he didn't want to tick off anybody else's God in case their God was greater than his. And so he takes 50,000 Jews that have been in captivity and said, who wants to go home? Why don't you go home and, like true Exodus style, ask your neighbors for provision, and we'll provide the resources for the journey. Go home and rebuild the temple to your God, to the God of all the universe. And so they're like, they can't believe it. They cannot believe that they're willingly let go out of captivity to return to their homeland, and they're funded to do so. It's like the best day ever. Like some of these people were born into captivity. Some of these people, they hardly remember their homeland. They were like Daniel. They were kids when they were hauled off. They were young men and women. And so when they get to go home, when the Lord brought back the captives of Zion, we were like men who dreamed, and our mouth was filled with laughter and our tongue with joyful shouting. And they said among the nations, the Lord has done great things for them. The Lord has done great things for us, and we are glad. And then I think it's restore our fortunes, O Lord, like streams in the Negev, if I remember correctly. But it's just a powerful verse, but I never saw this before, is they equate the best moment in their life, probably in the summation of their generation, in a whole lifetime. They equate the celebration of being freed from slavery, freed from captivity, no longer prisoners of war, allowed to go home, rejoicing on the way, in tears because they can hardly believe this is happening. They equate that to getting revelation from God in a dream. We were like men who dream. Like it was so good to be true, we couldn't even believe it. So
That's good.
makes you want to look at your dreams a little closer.
Sure does. Wow.
You could imagine the best thing ever happening, the thing that you think is absolutely impossible, that there's just no way it's ever going to happen, that somebody's going to pay off all your debt and free you from, corporate slavery or oppression or whatever you're in, whatever you're fighting, whatever your battle is, that God is going to show up so powerfully in such a way, in a way of redemption, that not only is he going to free you from the stress and the bondage of the past, could be the past, 20, 25 years, that he's going to free you, but he's also going to resource you for the journey ahead. Like, this is so good. It's like a dream.
Yeah.
So if you play that in reverse, this is the power of dreams. The power of dreams is to help you maneuver through the impossible, is to help end debt in your life, is to help set you free, is to help end depression, is to set you free from the past. Isaiah 43:18, forget the former things and do not call to memory the things of the past. For behold, I do a new thing now. It springs up. Can you not perceive it? I am making streams in the desert and a way in the wasteland.
Yeah.
And this is what he's saying. When I give you a dream, if you treat it as such, this is like your ticket to freedom, your ticket out of everything that's plagued you, out of everything that's held you captive, out of all the debt that's been crushing you, the financial problems, the physical problems, the marriage problems, the whatever, the relational trauma, the stress of your life that you've been in and under bondage for so long, you can't even remember what it's like not to have it.
Yeah.
And that's what one word from God in a dream is like, according to Psalm
Wow.
26.
That's beautiful, John. Wow. I love
But wait,
that.
there's more. There's more. The very next chapter
Yes.
is Psalm 127. And it says this, unless the Lord builds a house,
Mhm.
its builders labor in vain,
Yeah.
no matter how hard you work. Unless the Lord guards a city
Mhm.
or a country, the watchmen stay awake in vain. In vain you rise early,
Mhm.
toiling for food to eat, for he gives to those he loves even while they sleep.
Mhm.
What does he give to those he loves? Psalm 126, freedom from oppression, freedom from
Mhm.
slavery, freedom from
Yeah.
debt, the ability to go home, a hopeful future, and full provision for that future. That's what he gives to those he loves, which, by the way, proves the premise that God told me a long time ago that dreams are the love language. I believe it's his preferred language of expressing love to his children. How incredible is that?
Yeah.
Understanding with Psalm 126 what dreams are equated to, and then seeing I give those freely to those I love while they sleep. No
Yeah.
striving, no earning, no unmerited
Yep.
favor because I love them.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing, John. Wow. I love that. All right. Anything else we want to do on that first stream? I mean, you have just opened a whole world for us, John. I love it.
Well, one other thing, it's interesting that
Yeah.
Ash, you just mentioned, I was at work and I got an interpretation for this other dream. And God says, oh, yeah? How about when you're at rest? I'll give you interpretations for dreams.
Oh,
I'm
that's
waking
so
you up
good.
to the idea that I'm going to give you in your rest what you've gotten
Mhm.
before in work, which means for you, Ashley West, that you've hit another level. This is a prophetic declaration over your
Wow.
life of another level of dream interpretation and revelation that God is
Mhm.
gifting you. You're another layer deep. He's waking
Wow.
you up to the idea that in dreams, he's going to give you in rest what you had to toil for, or what seemed like work before, or what there was a process
Wow.
where he's just going to give it to you like the gift of complete freedom and provision.
Wow. No wonder the Holy Spirit said, bring this dream up again. Ash, that's amazing. A one sentence dream. Mhm.
And it's a whole process of how God is going to deal with you in the future. It sets a
Wow.
precedence. It prophetically announces a promotion. It tells you you're going a layer deeper. It shows the pleasure of God and the favor on your life. And it shows you the seriousness and the impact of how profound one dream can be and how he's going to give you those interpretations.
Wow. Anything you wanted to add, Ash, before we move on to dream number 2?
I'm trying my best to compose myself.
Gotcha. That was a lot to be given. Yeah.
Yeah. I will say this is the third time now that John has hit on stuff that he doesn't know about or doesn't know everything. And he's just, I say it's him. He knows, I know, you know, everybody knows it's Holy Spirit, but it's coming through him.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to honor both of you and everybody, but just especially you, John, because there seems to be, how can I say that? I've had it with Diana before where the Lord showed me like a green tick mark where he's shown me her interpretation for things like she's hit the mark and it's a green tick. And it's the same with you, with what you said. And the proof, I think has been the last 3 videos we've done in a row. You've picked up on 3 individual circumstances or time frames in my life. And I don't even think we've even discussed it privately, but you've hit it. And as much as I look as Diana as my spiritual mother, I really do look at you as my brother. And only family would know that intricate detail of that personal side of my life. And I think that speaks to who you are to me in my life. And I think as well as the message is for me, it's also to you and for you to prove to both of you. But for you, John, it's to prove to you that you are a major part of my life and you are closer than a brother. And I want you to know that I honor you for what you do, not just for me, but for everybody within the family, the blood brought family, and for those that are coming in. So I'm really trying my best just to keep level headed. Yeah. But yeah, I thank you. I really thank you.
Praise God.
He is good. All right. Let's dive into the thriller, Ash. We'll get you distracted.
Yes, please. Right. Okay. So this dream is an older dream. I had this on the 11th of July last year, and I've called it Training Drill Dream. Here we go. I'm sat in a car with 2 men. One I do not know, and the other was Tim Ballard. The driver was the man I did not recognize, and Tim was sat in the passenger's seat up front. I was sat in the back, leaning forward between both of them. I am holding an MP5 rifle and have a pistol in its holster. We are doing a training exercise. We are running the training drill 7 times. The drill was we would drive in the car. The drill was we would drive in the car from one end of a road, and I put in brackets, the road looked like an underground shopping mall road or a tunnel road, to the other end. We are looking for a bad guy, and we would always have to be looking for him and be ready to apprehend him or take him down. We had to be alert and ready. And I put in brackets again, guns at the ready. Guns at the ready has just come up in my spirit. So I had that when I was writing this down. I had my weapon pointed at the front windscreen in case I needed to shoot through it, while the driver and Tim were tasked to get out of the car and apprehend or engage the target. On the 6th time, we went up to one end of the road and were expecting him to be there as he had always appeared there before, every time. He wasn't there this time. When we went back and was near the end of the road, I realized I'm no longer carrying my MP5, but instead I only have my pistol. Suddenly the man appears ahead through the windscreen, but this time he looks different. He is wearing a long black leather jacket and a black hoodie on. His face was hidden due to the hoodie being up and so long. He looked and felt evil. I knew he had heavy automatic weapons under his hoodie and jacket. We drive past him and turn around to go back. By the time we turn around and continue driving to see him again, we get to the opposite end of the road. He is there and looks incredibly menacing. I lean to my left, ready to exit the car and apprehend the target or engage him when I realize my pistol I have would be insufficient to deal with him. We pull over and I go back to my middle seat position, pointing my weapon at the target through the windscreen. The driver and Tim exit the car and engage the target. I then get out of the car. The man has his hands raised in a submissive posture. I notice we are outside a very large set of electronic, wide, double doors, like an elevator door. At this moment, the man lifts his hoodie down, and it's Tim Ballard. He wanted to give us feedback, constructive but direct and passionate, about how we did during the training. He asked me what went wrong. What were the mistakes I noticed we made? I said, we dropped the ball. We messed up. I knew there was a threat and I knew it was coming at some point, but I got complacent and let my guard down. The threat turned up when I wasn't paying attention and unprepared. I brought my pistol to a rifle fight. Tim looks at me with this real brightness coming from his blue eyes and agrees with me and says, "You are right, and this is unacceptable. So what are we going to do about it and make it right?" I respond with a few ideas, then said, "I feel like this world is weak. It's being taught and continues to be so that we are not meant to attack with ferocity, authority, and aggression needed to take out the enemy." Tim responds and says, "This is exactly what is wrong." End dream.
Wow. Your training dream just isn't for you. It's for all of us too. There are so many lessons in this dream that would help us as we face spiritual warfare.
Wow.
You're right, Diana. There's, again, I knew this is a longer dream. And you're right, there's so many lessons to be learned. And the fact that it is a training drill speaks to the dream and what it's meant for. And again, it's not just for me, it's for everybody. I really do feel the emphasis on this being directed towards the body of Christ.
Okay.
And it's not just about what we could look at Tim Ballard, his main focus or what he's well known for is the children.
I was going to ask you to remind me who Tim Ballard was. The name is so familiar, but
what was the movie?
Sorry?
The movie he produced.
Just came out with a movie.
Yeah, so Sound of Freedom, they based that movie on his work. He's been in a couple of documentaries that are live documentations of him doing operations. One of them, the most recent one, is Operation Tucson over in Haiti. And you want a wake-up call to what's really going on, and you want impact without seeing the grossness, go and watch that documentary. I think it's even free on YouTube still. You can go and watch it. But it just highlights the work, the planning, the communication aspect, the having to go through hoops in the government. It's not just a case of pack your bags, get your weapons and go and save these kids. It's organized, it's prepped. But the real thing that hit me was the spiritual aspect of it. Before they go on these operations, you find them and their team and associate team members actually praying. And there is this one spec up guy, I can't remember what he's training the police, the local law enforcement. He actually prays in Hebrew. He actually prays in Hebrew before they go on this final mission.
Mm.
So I really do highly recommend everybody go watch that. So if you want to look to kind of really have a more open doors of the scope of what goes on behind the scenes and not just
Yeah.
what's at the forefront, this is very educational for sure, and it is impactful, very impactful.
So what do you think the guns represent in this dream?
Mhm.
To me, an MP5 is an automatic weapon, submachine gun. So it's used predominantly, especially over here in the UK, it's used with the special ops units. So like the SAS, the SBS, especially the SAS, they use, it's their primary weapon, choice of weapon. It's compact, it's maneuverable, and it has the impact to take down people. It's got the flexibility and maneuverability to enter and exit different rooms of operation and engagement. So it covers all areas. With a pistol, that's more of a one-on-one, close quarters.
Yeah.
You could, if you're a good shot, and depending on the caliber of bullet, you can end someone's life with it if you're trained. I think the comparison between the two is, one is if you don't know how to use it, you still have an option of like spraying and praying, so to speak. So you can empty a clip, and if you point it in the right direction, the amount of bullets within the clip, at least one of them is going to hit. But it has more dropping power. And the pistol is very much like a one round at a time. It's for your self-protection. It's not really used for engaging a target. It's for self-defense. The difference between both of them is, one is there for a purpose, is fit for purpose. And if I was to fire an MP5 through a windscreen of a car, it would penetrate it, it would go through, and it have more of an impact. And I would still have rounds in a clip. So even if it took 5 or 6 rounds to go through and penetrate the window, then the rest of the rounds would be aimed at the target to take it down. With a pistol, you would have to continue to fire, and probably by the time you finish shooting, you would have to fit another clip in order to engage a target. To me, the MP5 is the relevant weapon to go and take and engage an enemy. The pistol is self-preservation, it's self-defense, but it's not suitable to take out this level of evil that I was seeing, or we were preparing to engage. What I got with it was very much Ephesians 6. The church, so to speak, religion has taught us the best really you can do is just put on the armor of God. And then you just expect it to keep hitting, and you can pray, but you can take little pea shots here and there. Maybe you might take 1 or 2 demons down, but that's the best really you've got. Whereas really the Lord has equipped us with the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, which in faith, when we decree and declare and then act in the natural, not just going from spiritual here, but getting the intel, getting the strategies, even if it's not you, getting that to the right people that can go and put like their foot through doors, go and engage these enemies, find these nests. We hear Trump talking about, the good agents of ICE. They go into these hornet nests and they fight. There's no messing around with them. It's very much with this dream, that's the emphasis on this target we were after. He was so menacing, he was so dark, he was so demonic. There was the black leather long jacket. To me, it kind of reminded me of a warlock. That's what it reminded me of. Like real deep embedded and confident evil within itself. Okay. And knew, like with the pistol, just knew I wasn't going to be a challenge. Just knew it. That's why I think I had 2 guys in front of me. One that is experienced, knows what he's doing. This is his field. This is his life. The other one I felt was more of a spiritual backup, whether it was an angel, whether it's, I don't know, but it was more spiritual focus based. That's the feeling I got.
Okay.
And it was driving.
Okay.
So that's the interesting thing. It was
Yeah.
driving.
Yes.
So is that speaking to the drive in each and every one of us, knowing that this is for humanity, this is for the
Mhm.
children, this is for a righteous
Mhm.
cause, and it drives us forward to go and engage the enemy in the spirit, but also in the natural.
Yeah.
We have to start really taking accountability. And I think
Mhm.
that's what the character of
Mhm.
Tim and myself were having that conversation at the end of trying to find out what was wrong
Yes. Yeah, that
and
was
to
good.
change it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'll let you guys.
So could those guns represent powerful words, decrees, declarations of what we know God wants for this time, speaking the truth to combat the lies, where a pistol is just protect me and my family. Don't let the bad guys get us, but it's not going to take them out. We've been given massive weapons to take down the enemy. John, chime in for us.
Yeah, I think there's a whole lot here. There's a couple of things that I highlighted that I want to look at. One was the rifle versus the pistol. And I think you did a really good job, Ash, of as a former operator, right? Explaining what that means, and what those are. I thought it was interesting at one point, you don't have the MP5, you only have the pistol. And so I feel like the MP5 in a spiritual warfare capacity, you think of a whole lot more ammunition. And I think of that when two or more are gathered. So I think part of it is community. But I also think as part of it could be rapid declaration. I remember as a teenager when I was having some difficulties and I just got ticked at the devil and I wanted to learn how to fight. At first, I started swearing at him. And then I realized that he was probably laughing at me while I'm like, my face is red and I'm frustrated and teary eyed and I'm mouthing off. And he probably thought that that was cute. And then I learned about Ephesians 6, and then I learned about the promises of God. And there's one verse that I love, and I feel like it's very apropos because I talked to somebody about this, somebody that I'm mentoring, I talked to about this yesterday, but I circled why 7 times. You know, in scripture, it says the enemy has to pay back 7 times anything that he's taken. But there's a verse in spiritual warfare that I've used that I forgot about it and then I couldn't find it. And I'm like, where is it? It's actually in Deuteronomy 28. And it's one of the promises for obedience. You know, I place before you today life or death. Now choose life. And if you do this, this happens. You'll be blessed in the city, blessed in the country.
Yeah.
Your enemies will come at you in one direction and flee from you in 7.
Ooh, that's right. It does say that.
And so as a teenager,
Ooh.
I'd be like, okay, you're coming at me, attacking me. You're now not allowed in my school, in my house, on my paper route, on my block, in my
Yes.
work, in my neighborhood. I mean, you know, and I started listing the 7 areas that the enemy is because he messed with me. And it's the idea of an automatic weapon is not just the idea of what it's capable of doing. It's like what you saw when you saw that this guy had automatic weapons that he hadn't drawn yet. They're underneath his clothing, but you knew he had them. It was menacing and you felt unprepared. So part of an automatic weapon is like an aircraft carrier. The Navy version is an aircraft carrier parked offside your shore. It's a massive deterrent. You don't want to come at me, bro, because I got 100 bullets to your 6. So good luck with that. You know, I can just spray and pray all
Yeah.
day. I'll hit something in your general direction. It's a massive deterrent, but you're going to think twice. If somebody's got a handgun, you might go up against them. If somebody's sitting there with an AK-47 or an AR-15, and you know, you're going to be like, let me think about this. Let me create a better strategy because this is not somebody that I want to mess with just because of the veracity of the attack, the amount of ammunition
Yeah.
and potential harm that could come my way. And I feel like, and I always felt this way as a teenager once I realized this, is that's what I want to do. I want to make spiritual warfare against me untenable for the enemy. If you're going to come
Exactly.
at me, that's fine. There's 7 areas now that you no longer have authority. And then I would couple with that. You can use the promises of God to war. Joshua 1:3 is another. Every place you set your foot, I will give you. Again, my school, my work, my family, my home,
Mhm.
my job, my city block, my paper, whatever. Here's all of the areas you are no longer allowed. And those 2 verses together, it's a double declaration. On the basis of 2 or 3 witnesses, a matter is decided. You now have 2 witnesses that are both precedents in scripture. This is a much bigger weapon than saying, obey God, resist the devil, and he will flee. That's like a dagger. That's like a pistol. It's a close-in weapon. Though if you watch John Wick, you can do a lot of damage with a close-in weapon, but it's all close in. It's the guy's 10 feet away, the guy's 5 feet away. You're drawing your weapon. It's like the weapon of last resort. They're on you. They're about to attack you. They have an axe, a knife, whatever. They're coming for you. And if you can pop, 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 if you can pop them when they're 5 or 10 feet away, but you're not using a pistol to try to shoot 50 yards or down at the other end of the road. You would use something like a rifle, which you can aim better and has more stability, or something that's an automatic rifle, which is even better because then there's the ability for multiple shots in succession. And so I feel like part of what this is, and it's emphasized through the 7 times, is I feel like there are people that are listening that needed to hear that. Go look at, first of all, examine your life and make sure that you're in obedience to what God has called you to do. And then go look at Deuteronomy 28 and say, do I qualify for this? Can the enemy come at me in one direction and flee from me in 7? Can I exercise that kind of authority over the enemy because I know and I understand the promises of God? And I think what's really cool is you have double bodyguard duty. You have 2 people in front of you. So they're going before you. They're guarding your front side, not your rear guard, but your rear guard's a little bit more of a hardened target because you're in a car, you know? And so it's the whole idea that they're getting out and engaging the enemy. So you have backup, and it's not even really backup, it's go before. You have people that are going before you to actually take the attack to the enemy before it comes to you. And they're the ones that are driving you. It's almost like you're the special asset in the back. You think of Secret Service where they have the guy in the front who would be Overwatch or a lookout, and then you have the guy that's the driver who would be the tactical driver who understands the ability to maneuver and evade and escape and do all the things that he needs to do offensively and defensively to guard whatever the package is inside the vehicle. You're able to do that because what's in the back seat typically tends to be a dignitary, somebody that's a high value target, somebody that's probably worth the life of the 2 people in the front seat of protecting. And again, think of the JFK assassination. Think of the 2 people that rode up front, and then there were 2 people in the jump seats. They were there. It was the governor of Texas and his wife. Normally, they're not there. But the 2 people in the front are certainly the people that are scanning the crowd and looking out over the horizon, navigating what's going on. They have 2 or 3 backup plans of how to get to the nearest hospital, how to get out of this intersection, how to get to the next checkpoint, how to get to a place of safety. And that's what they're doing. They're getting out and they're engaging the enemy for you. The driver is interesting because the driver is the one that's driving you. It's what moves you forward. It's the purpose and the destiny that you have. The driver is unnamed and unseen. So you know that there's literally an unnamed force that's propelling you forward. That could be part of your destiny, but it could be just a part of something that drives you, like human trafficking does for a lot of us. We just really get a burr in our saddle when people want to hurt kids.
Yeah.
Like if you've been ex-military, like both Ash and I have, you want to hurt people that want to hurt kids. There's just no nice way to say it. And not just us. I'm sure Diana agrees. If you love kids, it's untenable for you to think of kids being harmed. And so that's the idea here is the special asset. There's actually 4 people in the dream. There's the driver, who's unknown and not, the faceless, nameless generation. Maybe that's what the driver is. There's Tim Ballard, who's the lookout. So the lookout is the person bringing attention, bringing awareness, sighting downrange, what's happening. These are military terms, but what's happening downrange? What are the attacks that are coming towards us? And this was a training exercise, so you knew it wasn't live fire, it wasn't real, but you're going up and down this road 7 times. On the 6th time, everything was as it happened before. Okay, the guy's always standing there. He's behind the trees. We go past him. We take him out. Boom, boom, boom. But on the 7th time, everything changes. He's not there. You find a dark figure. He's in a dark, long black jacket. He has a dark hoodie. And he has automatic weapons. He's very heavily armed and menacing. And so now you have to repent. Now you drive past him and you have to turn around. So this is the Greek metanoia. This is like, I have to do something different than I've ever done before, because what I've done up to this point will no longer serve me, particularly in this battle, which again, this battle is a training exercise. It's so fascinating that God gives us training exercises in dreams, because a dream itself is often a training exercise, but it's with the added effect of emotion. It blew my mind the first time I interviewed the dream of a 4-year-old, and I found out that what God was doing was taking her on a virtual reality simulation of spiritual warfare, where there was a progression of 3 bouncy houses and ever increasing difficult cartoon characters that she had to defeat to get the key to unlock the freedom of the kids of her generation. She was 4. And once I realized that, I'm like, God will put us in a situation. He'll also do this so we can put ourselves in that. So you may give you dream after dream after dream after dream that you're a very, very wealthy individual. You know why? Because he's sealing his instruction on your heart. People that wake up one day and win the lottery and have never won the lottery, categorically in 3 years, they're broke or bankrupt. They're worse off than when they started. Why? Because they've never considered what would happen. And so they've never developed a strategy, and they don't believe that it's for them. And so they mishandle it. And so God will give you purpose and destiny in a dream years, even decades before you enter into it. So you've been thinking, man, I've been thinking about being the CEO of a large company for a long time. When suddenly you find yourself there, you've already fantasized about this. You've thought about it. You've maybe written it down as a goal. You've prayed into it. You've asked God what it means. If you're smart, you begin to realize that your dreams are part of your destiny call in your life. And so you began to read books. You began to train yourself. You've gone to school. Maybe you got an MBA. You began to learn the things that you feel are required for the position that God has for you in the future. And that's a concept we call leaning in. A lot of people, when God announces, particularly in a dream, this is who you are, it's like Moses. Well, who am I? I can't speak. I send somebody else. That's why God will tell you in a dream first, a lot of times. But then you hit to a point where first it's denial, and then it's finally acceptance. But acceptance is 0. Now you don't care either way. Well, if God wants to make it happen, he could. That's not full acceptance. Full acceptance is, okay, this is the call of God on my life. What do I need to do to prepare for this eventuality? If you know that you're going to go to war, you train for war. And you carry the weapons that will match the theater of operations that you're in. You don't take a pistol on the field of battle. You also take a pistol. It's like just pray. You don't just pray when you're in a season of warfare. You better have something more on your vest than, well, I'm just going to pray. What God bless America, or God help us, or our country's in trouble. Guys, like, we need to understand spiritual warfare. And this is part of what we're seeing. Ash and Diana, we talked about this. We're seeing this in spiritual intelligence, is God is releasing strategies related to high-level spiritual warfare of how to take our nation back. And he's identifying the roots of principalities
Mhm.
that have been here for some time. So like Gideon, we can know the route, destroy the altar, and then remove the army without number, because it no longer has a spiritual or a legal precedence to be on our land anymore, because God
Mhm.
showed us this was the root. The root's been cleansed and repented of. So the
Yes.
altar supporting the entity is now gone. And so now all we have to do is kick out the entity. This is so much deeper than praying, God, give us our nation back. I believe it's the prayers of the intercessors that are praying things like, God, give us our nation back. Show us how to defeat the enemy. How do
Yes.
we push back the
Yes.
spirit of globalism and the spirit of Jezebel, or the spirit of abortion, or the spirit of Satanism in this?
Mhm.
I believe it's those prayers that God is answering when he gives us a dream that has the strategies and tactics of how to take down the giants in the land.
Yeah. We need to learn to attack with ferocity, authority, and aggression. And I know that the Father has said to me for a long time now, you're no longer on the defense. You are on the offense against the enemy.
Yeah, and we've heard that from other prophetic voices that hold an office of a prophet. And I can testify, I'm not going to name names, but throughout the last week, I've been with a unit of specialists, shall we say, in a particular location that has a covenant with God. And it's interesting again, John's picking up on the whole Gideon and the altars, raising altars and taking down altars. That's what's happened. That's what I experienced last week with this team, with this unit. And again, it's just, it boggles my mind even still to this day how people that have no knowledge can just pick up on something, speak it, and then go, that's just happened in my life. John's just done it again. You guys have done it again.
Wow.
And that literally happened. We had prayer, which John was saying. We had intercession. We had prayer. But then we got, I'm not going to go into too much detail, I have to protect, but we got spiritual intel in the moment and instruction to go do. That was followed by faith and obedience. And we discovered an enemy altar in a key location.
Wow.
And literally took it down. So you have to understand, like with the military, right? There's different units for different parts of the military. They have specific jobs that they're trained to do and focus on.
Mhm.
And just because you don't hear, see, or understand the effect of your job or your role in the mission having an effect until victory is declared, doesn't mean it's not working. Doesn't mean it's not having an effect. What happens if, I'm just going to say this, what happens in someone over in a Christian over in the Ivory Coast prayed with a small team of people that literally opened up the window for me and my team to go and do what we did, and then for what we did then goes on and has a bigger impact in that nation, that then sets another team or another individual that's ordained by the Lord to go and literally cut off the head of a spiritual giant.
Yeah.
Like, take it out forever, kick it into the dry place where it doesn't return. What happens? I say, I'm not going to say if, what happens when that happens? Because it's going to happen. And who's to say that it already hasn't? So that's a word of knowledge right there. And I speak that in faith. But John's absolutely right. The level of reality and understanding and intelligence through dreams or visions is a lot more impactful. And again, to the dreamer, someone that receives it, it's a lot more real. So they can, it's not just a word, it's not just a journal entry. We do all those things to document it. But the dreamer, the visionary, whoever it is, can literally take their time, go back and literally go, right, that was there, this is that, this smelled like this sounded like this. And they can write a whole book, so to speak, a whole document, a whole dossier just on that one dream and what happened in that dream, and then give the actionable intelligence give the strategies, give the intelligence of who to go speak to, where to go travel, what time, what weapon to use, what date to go do it, like all these things. And before, I didn't understand that I understand that in a natural realm, but I didn't understand that in a spiritual realm until I invested in myself to learn and understand about first of all, the biblical foundation of dreams and how important they are, and the ranking of communication mode from the Lord to his children, where that sits. From there, then going and implementing that in your life. And again, like John and Diana just said, being obedient and trusting it, using it as reality of intel, and then using it in your life as reality, just like Gideon did. Literally, who am I? I doubt myself. You know, I'm the least of all my houses, and I'm the least one in the least house. Who am I to do this? But the angel turns up and says, mighty man of valor. You're like, dude, who are you talking to? Like, is there someone behind me? Like, who are you talking to? I've been going through this so recently, and it's a lie. It's a lie to take you off of where you should be, who you are, where you should be going, and the impact what you have in this world, not just your life, but in others in this world. So I say all this to say, who am I to say that I don't know another special unit out somewhere else in another country, in the other parts of the world, didn't open that opportunity for me and my team to go in. So it relates to the dream. It's not by you doing this alone. You're not, the majority of people, they don't have that anointing to be just an Elijah, where they go at it alone with the Lord and they go and take out the prophets of Baal. It is a team effort. And because the guy that was, the person that was driving, didn't see his face, don't know who he is, the most defining thing I could say about him was he's got both hands on the steering wheel, and it's his muscle definition here that stood out because of his arm straight on the steering wheel. That's what stood out to me. And it was his right arm. That's what stood out to me.
Wow.
Tim Ballard, again, like John said, he's the one that's voicing, that's seeing this, that is the observer, that is calling this out into reality for attention, bringing it to attention to the world.
Yeah.
And then you've got the ones behind him that are in the back seat that might be a VIP, but they're the ones that are backing these two up, that are ready to, engage as and when the leaders lead. And if they need to, they can get out the vehicle, or they can shoot through the vision, shoot through the screen that is in front of them, and go and take out the combatant. So that's what I was picking up there.
I did wonder about the character Tim. When you said the brightness coming from his blue eyes, I suddenly saw Michael, the archangel. Maybe he's part of your training crew.
Wow.
He's over spiritual forces in heaven. So couldn't be a better trainer than him.
I have a friend who worked with, we'll just say, a well-known dream interpreter for a decade plus, who also has very much a passion to rescue children. And their life, there's mixed press about Tim Ballard, and I don't know if it was just because I haven't dug into, I don't really like a lot of rumors and innuendo, but I did watch the movie, and I know some people that were involved with the movie, but I do know this. I have a friend who is alive today because of Tim Ballard. Because they were overseas, not in America, and they were working on a rescue operation, and there was a piece of intelligence that literally saved their life. The blueness in the eyes, to me, represents the spirit of revelation. The same friend of mine has worked with special ops teams, door kickers, they call them, that literally go in with MP5s or whatever their choice of assault rifle is, at the level, which means facing forward, ready to shoot anything in front. And they kick doors in houses and they go in and they steal back kids from human traffickers. And a lot of the guys on the team weren't Christian, but they knew they would listen to this person because they would say, I had a dream last night. Don't take the first two doors, we go on the third door. And every single time they were right. This is another layer that we don't talk about probably enough of spiritual intelligence. I know people even recently that have gotten words that God is going to show you where the children are. We've had many, many high-level dreams related to human trafficking, kidnapping, rescuing kidnapped victims, adults, children, all of that in mass, kids in cages stacked 5 high in underground tunnels, things like that, which I thought was clearly figurative until God said, look it up. And I started seeing pictures of stuff that was like, whoa. And I really started waking up to exactly what happens in the world of human trafficking. If God is speaking to you about human trafficking, I would warn people from going down this rabbit hole unless God is speaking to you. But if he is speaking to you, he will give you the grace for it. And you need to know. I can share that we have had people who didn't know each other in other parts of the country call me with a sense of urgency. There's a situation. It's all the way across the country in another state. I see this particular house. I see this house. I see a warehouse. I see this kind of truck. I see this kind of baby that's in danger. And I'll call a friend that works in rescuing children in that state. And based on a dream alone, they will drive several hours and go investigate. And we found the house, and we found the truck, and we found the warehouse, and we found the child that was in danger. And it hadn't been kidnapped yet, but it was a person that moves across the border because they live over here, but they have family back there. And so they're back and forth across the border. They just had a baby. God told my friend to connect with the pastor of a church. That pastor knew of the situation, and it was just a total divine. I mean, going in cold with nothing other than here's what we have in the dream. It sounds like it's not figurative. Go check it out. And so this is part of what we do in spiritual intelligence. I mention this simply because, Ash has mentioned spiritual intelligence as well. Ash is part of our crew. He's working with us. He's being trained in high-level spiritual intelligence. He's actually passed the spiritual intelligence mentorship, and he's into the advanced. And God is even giving him upgrades with, like the last dream that he had. In the midst of that, I see a special call on Ash's life. Not a lot of people have that. A lot of people can be trained, though, in spiritual intelligence. We're starting actually another spiritual intelligence mentorship. September 16th is the orientation day. And so I feel like I've been told you don't advertise a lot. The reason is because the mission of some of the stuff that we really work on, we want to keep quiet, literally because people's lives could be in danger.
Yes.
But God is giving actionable intelligence, which door to kick in. There's 3 houses. Which one do we go? We better know, because if we go in the wrong door and they're ready for us or it's booby trapped, we're dead. Like, this is what I mean when we talk about, it's not just like what bills to pay off or what house to buy. We're literally dealing with stuff that rescues children, that can keep people from being kidnapped, that can help door kickers see around the corner. And it was interesting when Ash was talking particularly about the idea of looking through the windshield. It's the idea of through the looking glass. It's future predictive, using prophecy and the prophetic gifts, of which the seer realm is part, which includes dreams and visions, very much a part, and using that to be able to see. And I call that concept Overwatch. If you've ever seen like a World War II movie like Band of Brothers, when they go into a town in Europe and they send the one guy, the sniper guy, up to the bell tower so he can scope out and he can see 3 blocks ahead as they're clearing houses and apartment rows. And he can say, hey, 2 clicks up, there's a squad moving your direction. Or there's a panther, there's a tank coming down this street over here. And he can even take him out because he can see them. That's the idea of overwatch. That's what God does in dreams. And that's the idea of seeing around the corner. There are military applications to this, and we've seen it. There are intelligence applications to this, and we've been a part of it. There are political applications of this, and we've seen that too. And there's certainly a spiritual application. And so I believe that Tim Ballard, because it's also a pun, we talk about dreams being in that we say in the movie theater of your dream life, only God holds the keys to the projection room. So when God gives a symbol in a dream that's a character in a movie, and there's a movie of a guy's life based on real life in a dream, it's like God is emphasizing the seer realm. And then you see, as you're debriefing, his blue eyes. Blue means revelation, eyes, of course, the seer realm. So you have the movie, you have the dream, you have seeing through the windshield, you have the blue eyes. All of this talks about overwatch, seeing around the corner, being future predictive. And this is even training. And if you wonder if something like this is for you, then ask God to show you, and ask him to show you, particularly in a dream. We have so many people that joined SIM because they didn't know, and they prayed, and God gave them a dream, and now they're there. God will do that, but you can actually practice this. Just like God is training Ash in his dreams, you can practice this by saying, God, give me a dream of something in my life that may not be life and death consequence, but something of that nature, and watch how God begins to hone your ability to hear him, to see around the corner.
Yeah. What I like the most about this dream is, Ash, you define for us where the pitfalls are. You dropped the ball, you messed up, you knew there was a threat, you got complacent and let your guard down, because that could go for all of us who have been in this battle for such a long time. It's something's going to happen until you just let your guard down. And that is exactly what you should not do. And we don't need to bring pistols to rifle fights. And also then the very end, with how we are to fight with ferocity, authority, and aggression. So that it's very helpful for all of us to learn from this dream that you had. Wow. John, any further comment? I know there's a lot more in the dream, but we've probably burned people's ears for long enough on this episode.
Yeah, I think, dreams like this, if you're looking at this like as a strategy map, he said clearly from the beginning, it's a training exercise. So we don't believe this is literal. We don't believe he's actually engaging an enemy. And it was even the guy that's doing the engaging is also the guy that's the enemy. And so there's a dual role that's played. And so we know that this is a safe dream in the sense that it's not a real world scenario.
Yeah.
He will give you dreams like this that are. And if you don't know what to do with them, go to dreamlifedecoded.com and click on submit a dream. We get dreams all the time from people who are seeing things in the realm of geopolitics and international relations, Trump dreams, dreams of, we'll just say, bad national security events that they don't know what to do. We have connections, we have contacts in certain particular parts of the federal government that are friendly to the prophetic, that understand this type of information, that have a hunger for this type of information, and have seen lives physically saved in the real world because of this type of information. So let that be a challenge to you if you're hearing about this for the first time, that do not ignore your dreams, because God can be speaking. And if you have an inkling, if any of this interests you at all, please consider going to dreamlifedecoded.com, look at courses, but particularly spiritual intelligence mentorship. It starts in a week or so, the orientation. Sign up and be a part, because we need people, and we need people that are hungry, that really want to see what God is saying over a city, over a region, over a particular area like human trafficking or the economy or whatever. And they want to know, how do I get intelligence from heaven we train you how to do that. The first thing is to value your dreams and write every one of them down.
Yeah.
The second one is get around a community where they can mentor you and teach you, like Ash does, like I do, like Diana does, how to hear God at a deeper level, particularly in the revelatory seer realm.
Well said, John. There will be a link in the description box. You have to open it up. It's under the title for John's website and for the spiritual intelligence mentorship. So also as well, Ash, and the ways you can connect with him. Ash, why don't your final comment and then pray us out? Would you do that?
Of course, of course. The one thing I picked up as well is when John was talking about the tunnels and the children being in there, while the scenery of the road was in a tunnel. It was like an underground mall, underground like tunnel road with the lights lighting up the road. The other thing as well, I'll quickly point out, is the electronic double door at the end. To me, again, looked like an elevator. And to me, Tim Ballard, when we were having that conversation at the end, he stood in front of it. So I believe it's like once this lesson is learned, you then have access to get on that elevator and be elevated up to the next level.
Yeah.
So, but you have to pass that training first, and you have to be accountable, responsible, and be prepared in order to engage. So I feel that's like the message for us here within our own lives, but within the body of Christ ourselves. We have to train ourselves. We keep hearing all the time about we need to be prepared for hard truths. There's a lot of us that do know in some sort of way about those hard truths. We've got the physical aspect of human trafficking. I feel that we now have to really be prepared for the spiritual aspect of this and the implications of what we truly are fighting against. Because once we train to deal with the spiritual side, the earthly side is going to appear and will be a lot more easier to cope with and deal with and take out. So, because we have the right weapons to do so. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. But Father, thank you so much for this time to be with the family and for your strategies, your training, Lord, and for your lessons that we will all take home and write our own reports, our own dossiers and things that we've taken from this, the bullet points, the keynotes, Lord, and then come to you, present those findings and find out where our weaknesses are, but where our strengths are, Lord, who we are in this time, what regiment, what unit we are and part of the army of light, Lord, so we can go out and share your light, be the light, but bring those out of the darkness. Those that are truly hurting and are in deep darkness in the claws of the enemy right now, Lord. So right now, Lord, I lift up each and every person watching this video. I also honor those people that are going out over in the front lines, like Tim Ballard, like Kara Starnes at Safe Passage, all these organizations that are in the field, the battlefield, Lord, rescuing and ministering and caring for these children and these victims, Lord. So right now, I just cover them with your blessing with the driver angel. And I cover them with the equipping weapons, Lord, to take out the enemy in the spirit, but also with the weapons of the strategy and the funding and everything that's needed to take out the enemy combatants in the natural, Lord. And I just thank you for this time. I thank you for the family. And I speak love, blessings, but a ferociousness, a focus, and a confidence, a boldness that is learned through the process of time, just as Gideon went through, Lord. And I thank you for that. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, audience, for joining us for another gripping episode of The Triple Threat. Thank you, John and Ash, for being with me again. And thank you to our audience for joining us, leaving your comments, your insights on Ash's dreams. We love to read those. And until we meet again, I just release to you his strength, his grace, and dreams. Bye for now.